In April last year, herders and archaeologists in Mongolia discovered an ancient mummy that appeared to be wearing some trainers. The researchers have now cleaned and restored the fashion-forward mummy, revealing the intricate detail and craftsmanship of her fancy footwear. The shoes, which surprisingly look like Adidas shoes, are over 1,000 years old. The restoration shows the footwear as a pair of knee-high felt boots that are striped with a black and red pattern, featuring leather soles and decorative buckles. The director of the Centre of Cultural Heritage of Mongolia said the following: "With these stripes when the find was made public, they were dubbed as similar to Adidas shoes with the stripes. In this sense they're an interesting object of study, especially so when the style is very modern." Scientists have also discovered that the mummy suffered a significant head injury, but it's not known if this was the actual cause of the woman's death. She died sometime in the 10th century in the Altai Mountains of Mongolia, nor is it clear if she was attacked or fell, although further research may answer this. Initial examinations found that it's quite possible that the traces of a blow at the mummy's facial bones were the cause of her death. She is believed to have been aged between 30 and 40. Those who studied her said, "Judging by what was found inside the burial, we guess she was from an ordinary social rank. This is despite the classy appearance of some of the possessions she was buried with, which might suggest to the uninformed a higher status." Various sewing utensils was found with her. With her in the grave found at an altitude of 2,803 meters above sea level, archaeologists unearthed 51 items including a stunningly beautiful embroidered bag, 4 costumes, vases, a saddle, her sewing kit and the skull head of a ram. The bag was made of felt. Inside was the sewing kit, and since the embroidery was on both the bag and the shoes, we can be certain that the embroidery was done by locals. The woman is believed to be of Turkic origin, and the burial is one of the most complete ever found. Experts now believe on the basis of 18 samples taken from the mummy that it does not date from the 6th century AD as first summarised, but rather from the 10th century. It's the first complete Turkic burial, at least in Mongolia, and probably in all Central Asia, meaning it's a very rare phenomenon. These finds show us the beliefs and rituals of Turkics. Where the find was first made in 2015, it was relatively intact, but in 2016 some portions of the grave had been opened. Livestock animals had got to it, which prompted the team to dig the find and take it to the Code Museum. The burial was undertaken as if those responsible intended the remains to be preserved. The high altitude and resulting cold helped the preservation, but the body was also covered in a thick, sticky tar-like substance with the colour ranging from a white to dark brown. The mummy is being exhibited in the National Museum of Mongolia. Israeli archaeologists announced the discovery of a 2,700-year-old clay seal. It was said to be of immense archaeological value, and was found in the plaza of the Western Wall in the Old City of Jerusalem, 5 years after the launch of the excavation works at the site. On the first day of the year, archaeologists from Israel announced the discovery of the ancient artifact, noting that the seal was inscribed with ancient Hebrew scripts translating to, belonging to the governor of the city, the most prestigious local position held in Jerusalem at the time. This is according to the Israel Antiques Authority. Shlomit Westgabolda, an archaeologist and excavator at the site, said the following to Newsweek reports. The small object portrays 2 men in striped rows facing each other above the Hebrew inscription that reads, Lesar Herer. Interestingly, both are wearing knee-length striped garments. Ancient Jerusalem governors are mentioned in the Bible in 2 different cases. In one case in the Bible refers to Joshua holding the governor's position during the reign of King Hezekiah, and in another refers to Messiah being a governor during the days of Josiah. According to Shlomit, the discovery is particularly significant from a historical point of view as it supports the biblical claims. It supports the biblical rendering of the existence of a governor of the city in Jerusalem 2,700 years ago. It's very important because it proves it's not only in the Bible, but there really was a governor of Jerusalem around the late First Temple period. Newsweek reported that archaeologists who made the discovery presented the artifact to the current mayor of Jerusalem, Nir Barkat. As the Israel Antiques Authority announced, the ancient clay seal will be on short-term display in the mayor's office. Mayor Barkat said in a statement, "It's very overwhelming to receive greetings from First Temple period Jerusalem." The ancient object was discovered close to the western wall of Jerusalem during a dig by the Israeli Antiques Authority. Archaeologists were there for 5 years digging slowly from the level of the western wall plaza to bedrock. They also added that the newly found piece of clay called a docket is only one of the 7 seals uncovered at the site, pinpointing in this way the uniqueness of the object. Another similar ancient artifact was unearthed in Jerusalem back in 2015 at a dump site, which archaeologists speculate may have been the seal of King Hezekiah. This was reported by CNN at the time. However, Slomit suggests that the most recent find is of immense importance and archaeological value as it sheds light on a series of things. It's likely that one of the buildings in our excavation was the destination of this transport sent by the city governor. The finding of a seal of this high-ranked title, in addition to the large assemblage of actual seals found in the building in the past, supports the assumption that this area located on the western slopes of the western hill of the ancient Jerusalem, some 100 meters west of the Temple Mount, was inhabited by highly ranked officials during the First Temple period. This is the first time that such a sealing is found in an authorized excavation. Workers digging close to New York's iconic Washington Square Park have uncovered 2 burial chambers. The crypts house coffins and human bones are thought to be around 200 years old. So far, the team's identified more than a dozen coffins in the vault, which could have been part of the burial grounds of 1 or 2 now defunct churches. Archaeologists soon hope to be able to make out the nameplates positioned atop the coffins. One of the crypts includes a pile of skulls and other bones that seem to have been stacked in the corner after the bodies disintegrated. Tom Foley of New York's Department of Design and Construction said the following: "We knew that we could be encountering some human remains. That's why the group has been working with archaeologists since beginning its $9 million project to install water main running from the east to the west side of town. As you peel away the asphalt and concrete face of this city, you find its history. From 1797 through to 1825, the location served as a potter's field, a public burial ground. Experts estimate that tens of thousands of decomposed bodies lay beneath the stones that line the park and its pathways. After the land became a city park in 1827, a military parade that featured cannons reportedly overturned stones and revealed yellow shrouds covering the remains of people who died during yellow fever outbreaks. Foley has first-hand experience unearthing Manhattan's historical mysteries. Previous construction projects came upon artifacts, including a commemorative plate from George Washington's inauguration. Skeleton remains also turned up in 2008 during a controversial park restoration project. Soil testing by the city's Park and Recreation Department found dozens of bones that the city left in the ground. City policies prohibit entering the newly discovered chambers, which lie a mere 3.5 feet below a street that runs along the campus of New York University. But archaeologists hope to learn more by sticking a camera through a hole and taking high-resolution photos that could reveal additional details about the coffins and the bones. They will try to match any names they spot to historical records from the churches that the crypts could belong to, though whether those records still exist is anyone's guess. As archaeologists piece together the story told by the remains, city officials are working on revising their construction plan. They will be making every effort to redesign the project to avoid impacts to the burial vaults, but given the rich history of the area, there may be more surprises in store. Although planets surround stars in the galaxy, how they form remains a subject of debate. Despite the wealth of worlds in our own solar system, scientists still aren't certain how planets are built. Currently there are 2 theories. The first and most widely accepted theory, core accretion. This works well with the formation of terrestrial planets like Earth, but has problems with giant planets. The second, the disk instability method. This may account for the creation of these giant planets. Approximately 4.6 billion years ago, the solar system was a cloud of dust and gas known as a solar nebula. Gravity collapsed the material on itself as it began to spin, forming the sun in the center of the nebula. With the rise of the sun, the remaining material began to clump up. Small particles drew together, bound by the force of gravity, into larger particles. The solar wind swept away lighter elements, such as hydrogen and helium, from the closer regions, leaving only heavy rocky materials to create similar terrestrial worlds like Earth. But farther away, the solar winds had less impact on the lighter elements, allowing them to form into gas giants. In this way, asteroids, comets, planets and moons were created. Earth's rocky core formed first, with heavy elements colliding and binding together. dense material sank to the centre while the lighter material created the crust. The planet's magnetic field probably formed around this time. Gravity captured some of the gases that made up the planet's early atmosphere. A new study suggests that 2018 could see a spike in huge earthquakes around the globe, and it's thanks to the Earth's rotation slowing down. The research, which was presented in a paper by scientists at the University of Colorado at Boulder and the University of Montana at Missoula, focuses on historic earthquake trends and seems to draw a pretty strong link between periods of slower Earth rotation and rashes of major quakes. It sure sounds like something out of a film, but the science is based purely in reality. The study's authors plotted earthquakes activity going back over 100 years, and thanks to the wealth of data available, they were able to determine that the temporary slowing of Earth's rotation seems to be linked to the most devastating and frequent earthquake outbreaks. The Earth's rotation is usually incredibly consistent, but it does go through brief spells where it rotates a tad slower than normal. The change would not be noticeable to anyone if not for the precise equipment scientists use to measure it, and it only affects the length of the day by milliseconds at most. These temporary dips are a well-documented phenomenon, but they never last long before the Earth starts to speed back up again. During these periods, the researchers say that major earthquakes that measure magnitude 7 or greater happen with much greater frequency. In an average year, we'd expect to see a little over a dozen of these types of earthquakes around the world, but in years where the Earth's rotation slows, that number spikes to as high as 30. In 2018, the Earth is expected to reach its slowest rotation speed, before picking up the pace once more, and that could spell doom for earthquake-prone regions. Researchers said the following: "This year we should see a significant increase in numbers of severe earthquakes. We could easily have 20 a year starting in 2018. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.